What's up guys, welcome to part 3 of my rewrite for Transformers 2. If you haven't seen parts 1 and 2 yet, I highly recommend you guys check those out before watching this video. The links are in the description below. But if you're busy and you don't have time, I've taken time to give you guys a quick recap. If you don't need the recap, you can skip to this time in the video. It's been a couple of months since the events of the last Transformers film have transpired. One Autobot ship has responded to Optimus's call, and 9 more Autobots have joined their brethren on Earth. The Decepticons are carrying out their contingency plan to resurrect Cybertron by activating a hidden fleet on Earth's moon that'll allow the Decepticons to invade the planet and enslave the human race in rebuilding their homeworld. But the Decepticons need a lot of energon to pull this off, so they're going to use an ancient Decepticon device in Peru called the Star Harvester to accomplish this task. Spike graduates high school and gets a job at the local energon refinery. Optimus and Nest's top scientist, Chip, pay a visit to the refinery just as the site is attacked by Constructicons. Optimus fights off all the Decepticons by himself, but he is mortally wounded. On the brink of death, Optimus is rushed back to Autobot City, where the Autobots get to work healing him. Optimus finds himself in limbo and facing judgment by the 13 Primes to see if he is worthy to join with the Allspark or not. Meanwhile, in order to save their precious leader, the Autobots are going to have to go on a quest and gather some rare earth metals that they can use to help heal Optimus. Bumblebee volunteers to lead this team, and he picks RC, Mirage, Blur, Wheeljack, Sideswipe, and Sunstreaker to accompany him along with a handful of Nest agents. Bees smuggle Spike into the task force, and they successfully retrieve the metals from a mine in China. Director Fairborn, the leader of Nest, sends Bumblebee's squad, codenamed Team Prime, to Peru to take down the Star Harvester. Lennox leads the rest of Nest to Peru to help take down the Star Harvester. With him goes Ironhide, Ratchet, and the Wreckers, and they bring along Optimus and the Allspark as well, so that they can use the Allspark to heal Prime once he's stabilized with the rare earth metals. But Team Prime's ship is shot down by the Decepticons once they enter Peru, and the members of Team Prime are scattered across the jungles. And that covers Act 1 and the first half of Act 2. Now, let's move on to the last half of Act 2, which is nicknamed The Bad Guys Close In. Act 2B. At the Star Harvester, Megatron and the Fallen are overseeing the completion of their Doomsday device from the bridge of the Nemesis. The Nemesis hovers lightly over the pyramids, allowing the Constructicons to ferry their tools and materials back and forth from the ship to the construction site. Soundwave and Starscream are coordinating this production pipeline when Starscream receives a transmission from Skywarp. He reports that he and the rest of the Seekers shot down Team Prime's aircraft, and that now the survivors are scattered across the Peruvian Amazon. Skywarp requests reinforcements to help them flush out the survivors, and Soundwave dispatches Ravage and Laserbeak, along with a squadron of Decepticon flyers. The Constructicons announce that the Star Harvester is complete, and the Fallen orders them to give it a test fire. Soundwave is about to activate the Star Harvester when Starscream steps forward, loudly proclaiming that he should be given the honor of activating the device, since he was responsible for acquiring most of the metal used to finish the Star Harvester. Soundwave doesn't trust Starscream with such a delicate matter, and Starscream is about to throw a tantrum when Megatron calmly approves Starscream's demand. Starscream proudly approaches the Star Harvester's computer and activates it. The engines roar up, the pillars begin to glow, and the energon starts pumping. But the computer starts to beep loudly, an alarm is sounded, and the pillars begin to overheat and melt. Soundwave shoves Starscream out of the way and abandons the test firing, shutting down the Star Harvester. "You disgust me, Starscream. Your entitlement is only overshadowed by your stupidity." Starscream tries to shift the blame of the faulty metal on the Constructicons, but they point out that all of the metal that they gathered withstood the test. It was only the pillars, the pieces that Starscream retrieved, that melted under raw exposure to energon. Megatron humiliates Starscream by forcing him to stay and clean up his mess while he goes to retrieve a higher quality metal himself. The Constructicons laugh as they hand Starscream their tools and tell him to get to work. Megatron transforms and flies over to a nearby mine, scanning the metals inside and confirming that they're strong enough to withstand raw energon. He transforms and descends down into the mine's quarry, squishing 2 Peruvian miners beneath his feet. The rest of the miners flee for their lives, but Megatron gleefully slaughters all of them with pot shots from his fusion cannon. Right around the same time, the Nest Battalion led by Lennox lands in Peru and they begin setting up camp. They set up a perimeter with tanks and anti-aircraft missiles. As soon as they're settled in, Lennox orders an airstrike on the Star Harvester. But as soon as the Fallen hears the sounds of the Nest jets approaching, he smiles evilly. Using the telekinetic powers in his staff, the Fallen rips apart every single jet that comes near the Star Harvester, destroying them before they even get a chance to launch their missiles. We can cut back and forth between Megatron and the Fallen massacring their respective humans, illustrating the destructive parallels between master and student. Lennox will watch on in horror as the entire bombing squad is dismantled effortlessly, and the Fallen calls out across the battlefield to Lennox, laughing as he asks the humans to send more ships for him to destroy. Lennox orders the rest of his men to stand down and pull back. Back in the jungle, Bumblebee wakes up on his back to find Spike sitting next to him. Spike's shoulder is sprained from the fall, but for the most part, he's safe and healthy. B tries to contact the rest of Team Prime, but only gets static in return, a telltale sign that the Decepticons are jamming their signals. Ravage suddenly jumps out of the bushes behind Bumblebee and proceeds to maul the back of his head and rip off a chunk of his helmet. Bumblebee knocks Ravage off and wrestles with the beast before grabbing Ravage by the tail and yanking his entire spine out of his body, killing him the same way that he does in Revenge of the Fallen. Spike looks on, slightly intimidated. Let's move. Back at the Star Harvester, Megatron returns to the construction site and commands Starscream to go retrieve the metal that he found at the mine. But I just started dismantling the pillars. How am I supposed to do that and go acquire the metal at the same time? I don't care about your inconvenience, Starscream. Do as I command, and take Jetfire with you. He's proven to be far more useful than you. Starscream grumbles as he throws his tools down and calls out to Jetfire over intercom, interrupting the scientist as he is in the middle of conducting an experiment in his laboratory. Reluctant to abandon his experiment, Jetfire leaps from the Nemesis and gracefully transforms in midair, flying towards the mine to go assist Starscream. Megatron goes to rejoin the Fallen on the bridge of their warship. He kneels before his master and assures him that he has remedied Starscream's mistake. But the Fallen chastises Megatron for Starscream's incompetence and tells his apprentice that Starscream's failures are also Megatron's, and that his poor choice of followers has reflected on Megatron's leadership capabilities. You're an embarrassment to the very name Decepticon, not even worthy to be called my apprentice. But I have done everything you've asked. I have sacrificed everything for you, my master. My friends, my station, my home, all for your glory. Enough. Your pitiful whining makes me want to throw myself into the smelting pit. Listing off all of your failures will do nothing for you now. You did as I commanded because I am the rightful ruler of our species. Despite your arrogance, you are at least capable of understanding when you are in the presence of a true god. Megatron's fists clench with rage as his pride is wounded. He keeps his head lower to hide his grinding teeth. A growl starts to build up inside Megatron's chest. The Fallen turns his back on Megatron to look out onto the rest of the Decepticons. But I grow tired of your failures, Megatron. For too long you have allowed our enemies to persevere. The disciples of the Primes, these Autobot rebels, have continued to thwart our plans time and again because you entrust our cause to imbeciles such as Starscream. Your irresponsibility even cost us Cybertron, our home. I have wasted enough time with you, Megatron. It appears I will have to start looking for a more suitable replacement. A fist suddenly bursts forth from the Fallen's chest, holding his spark in between fingers that are soaked with energon. The fist crushes the spark, and Megatron pulls his arm out of the Fallen's torso, allowing the corpse to fall at his feet. Megatron picks up the carcass of his master and carries it outside, climbing up to the hull of the warship. He holds the Fallen's body up into the air above his head, unleashing a fierce war cry that echoes across the construction site. Every Decepticon present stops working to look up cautiously at their leader. Megatron hurls the Fallen's body thousands of feet down onto the ground, where it lands at the feet of some of the workers, who look back up at Megatron, nervous and intimidated. My Decepticons, know this. There is no command but mine. All hail your rightful lord and master. The Decepticons raise their fists into the air and shout back, All hail Megatron! All hail Megatron! All hail Megatron! Back in the Peruvian Amazon, Bumblebee and Spike find Wheeljack, Chip, and Epps. Wheeljack shows B that the rare metals that they collected survived the crash and are safe and sound within their container. Bumblebee and his teammates start looking for the others, and they soon find Sideswipe, Sunstreaker, and Blur, along with Donnelly and Burke. But there's no sign of the rest of Team Prime. On his way to the mine, Jetfire scanners pick up 3 human lifeforms beneath him. Curious as always, Jetfire transforms and hovers over the humans with his jetpack. It's the Nest agents Davies, Zimmerman, and Lang. The Nest agents open fire on Jetfire, but he dodges all of their shots. He attempts to reason with the humans and gain their friendship. Jetfire recognizes the Autobot insignia that is incorporated into the Nest logo on the agents' uniforms, and he concludes that the Nest agents are associated with his mortal enemies. He tries to persuade the humans to abandon the Autobot cause and join him and the rest of the Decepticons in protecting the galaxy from violent monsters like the Autobots. but the Nest agents refuse, quoting that the Decepticons are the true monsters. "You must be mistaken. Come, my friends. I will take you to my lord and prove to you our good intentions." Jetfire scoops up the 3 defiant humans into his arms, transforms, and flies back to the Nemesis. Jetfire approaches Megatron on the bridge of the warship and kneels as he drops Davies, Zimmerman, and Lang in front of Megatron. "Jetfire, I thought I ordered you to assist Starscream." "Indeed, my lord. On my way to carry out your orders, I came across these organic life forms. Homo sapiens, I believe they're called. They have been disillusioned by the Autobots into serving them. They believe we are here to perform some form of genocide on their planet. I delivered them here to you in hopes that you could show them the truth, Lord Megatron." "And what truth is that?" "That we are here to protect and serve." Megatron suddenly snaps into action and fires his fusion cannon at the assembled Nest agents. In the blink of an eye, the burnt skeletons of Davies, Zimmerman, and Lang are sprawled across the bridge. Jetfire jumps back in shock. Horrified by Megatron's ruthlessness, Jetfire looks down at his chassis to see the human's blood splattered all over his exterior plates. The blood drips from his fingers. Megatron leans forward into the traumatized scientist's face. "We are here to fulfill one vision, and one vision only, Jetfire. The renewal of Cybertron. Everything else is fodder. You are dismissed." Jetfire slowly turns to walk out of the bridge. He glances one last time at the skeletons. Smoke is still rising from their burnt remains. He shuts his eyes tight and forces himself to continue making his way back to the mine. We cut back to Optimus and Mortellus Prime as they enter the final examination of Optimus's memories. The flashback is once again on Cybertron, in the final days of the war. Sentinel Prime is boarding the Ark, carrying with him the space bridge that is the Autobots' only hope of saving their planet. Sentinel relinquishes the Matrix of Leadership and bestows it upon Optimus with his blessing before taking off into space. The Ark will suffer the same fate as it does in Dark of the Moon, where it is shot down by the Decepticons while attempting to flee Cybertron. Optimus will watch the ships fall with a broken heart, and with no other option available, he assembles the rest of the Autobot army at the Decagon and makes a controversial and unpopular announcement. He is planning on launching the Allspark off-world to keep it safe from Megatron's corruption, and will begin orchestrating an exodus to find a new base of operations. Many of the Autobots are upset about leaving their homeworld, and signs of insubordination start to grow amongst the Autobot ranks. We can have cameos of Autobots like Cliffjumper, Trailbreaker, and Brawn arguing against the exodus. But Optimus handles the situation well, and with a rousing speech, he reassures the Autobots' loyalty with talks of hope and faith. A leader of lesser skill would have lost the trust of his troops. The Matrix blessed me with the collective wisdom of its past bearers. I owe all of my accomplishments to them. I take no credit for myself. It has been said that humility is not thinking less of oneself, but rather thinking of oneself less. It would seem you embody both of these beliefs, old friend. Come, the examination is over. It is time for you to receive the final judgment. Mortellus opens up a portal, and both he and Optimus step into it. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Mirage is using his cloaker to evade the Decepticon patrol parties. He relies on his training as a scout and follows the Amazon River, knowing that bodies of water will always lead towards civilizations. Once he finds a town, he can hopefully access a better communication system and contact the rest of his team. On the way, Mirage comes across the same mine where Megatron had butchered the workers, and in the wake of the massacred human bodies, Jetfire arrives. Jetfire transforms and looks around in distraught at the corpses before entering the mine. Mirage silently follows him inside and spies on Jetfire helping Starscream harvest the metals within the caves. While they work, Starscream and Jetfire talk about Megatron murdering the humans. Jetfire is deeply troubled by the slaughtering of innocents, but Starscream professes that it is all for the greater good of restoring Cybertron. Jetfire comments on how much Starscream has changed since their days as science partners. Their conversation is interrupted when the rest of the Seekers arrive from another passage, dragging along RC, whom they've captured. Mirage's cloaker suddenly malfunctions and he becomes visible again, but he remains hidden behind some rocks and draws out his sniper rifle. Starscream decides to test Jetfire's resolve by ordering him to execute the Autobot prisoner. Jetfire refuses, and when Starscream threatens his old friend, Jetfire stands his ground and accuses Starscream of lying to him about the war on Cybertron. The Autobots were not responsible for the war, or the contamination of their home planet. The Decepticons and their warmongering ways were to blame all along. The Seekers all aim their weapons at Jetfire as he makes his revelation clear. For the sake of our old friendship, Jetfire, I will be generous and give you one last chance to prove your loyalty. Melt this Autobot down. You are no friend of mine, Starscream, and I am no executioner. This Autobot has done no wrong. But you have, traitor! Starscream aims his missiles at Jetfire, and Mirage takes the opportunity to shoot at RC's bonds and free her. Run! RC immediately obeys, with Mirage providing covering fire. Starscream fires a missile at Mirage, but Jetfire grabs Starscream's arm at the last second, causing him to miss and to instead launch his missile up at the ceiling, resulting in a cave-in. RC finds herself separated from the rest of the Decepticons thanks to the falling rubble, but Mirage is caught in the cave-in and is buried underneath a pile of rocks. The other Seekers shoot at Jetfire, wounding him in several places while Starscream knocks him to the ground with a backhand, and the rest of the Seekers gang up on him, kicking him and beating him up to a pulp. When they're done, Jetfire lies weakly on the ground, unmoving. Consider yourself lucky. Starscream and the other Seekers gather the harvested metal and leave through the tunnels. Outside the mine, Team Prime arrives on the scene, and just as RC regroups with the rest of the Autobots to report Mirage and Jetfire's sacrifice, Starscream and the Seekers exit out of the mine and catch Team Prime dead in their tracks. Skywarp and Thundercracker prepare to open fire on the Autobots down below, but Starscream stops them, telling them that they can't afford to waste any more time and keep their impatient masters waiting. Starscream explains that they will provide the Autobots with a distraction instead. Following Starscream's lead, the Decepticons transform and fly into the air, shooting several missiles into the mountainside before making their way back to the Star Harvester. Bumblebee realizes that the missiles triggered a rock slide and that a wave of boulders are rolling down the mountain towards a small Peruvian town nearby. Bumblebee and the rest of Team Prime transform and race towards the town, forcing their way through the chaos as the villagers realize the danger that they're in and are climbing over each other in an attempt to evacuate. Bumblebee orders the Autobots to form a perimeter around the town and open fire on the rocks cascading down towards them. With their combined firepower, the Autobots succeed in breaking apart the boulders so that all that is left are pebbles once the rock slide reaches the bottom of the mountain. The villagers cheer for the Autobots, and Wheeljack congratulates B on a job well done. But Bumblebee is too depressed to focus on this minor victory. Based on RC's report, Mirage is dead. This hits B pretty hard, as this is the first soldier to have died under his command. Bumblebee beats himself up and lists off all the mistakes that he made to Wheeljack. He failed to think ahead and lost the element of surprise by not having Team Prime scan new vehicle modes, therefore allowing the Chinese locals to recognize them. He was too caught up in his desire to succeed that he allowed the Decepticon guard at the mine to alert the enemy of their presence. He forgot to include everyone's input during the team meeting on the Nest aircrafts, and now, to top it all off, Mirage is dead, and so are Davies, Zimmerman, and Lang. And B is taking all the blame. This is the low point of B's character arc. But Wheeljack refuses to let Bumblebee give up on himself. Everyone here believes in you, Bumblebee. You just need to trust us and believe in yourself. I know you can do great things. I want you to show them to me. But what can we do against an army? The same thing that we've done since the days of Cybertron. Persevere. If you continue to place your faith in us like you just did with the rock slide, we can accomplish anything. A small body of determined spirits, fired by an unquenchable faith in their mission, can alter the course of history. The rest of Team Prime looks over at Chip in surprise. Chip looks at Spike and shrugs. Gandhi, don't let Mirage's sacrifice go to waste, B. Make it mean something. Please. Bumblebee's resolve is back. He looks on at the rest of Team Prime, and they give him nods of approval. Back inside the mine, Jetfire stirred from his misery when the piles of rocks that were created from the cave-in start to move. Jetfire detects an energy signature within the rubble, and he crawls over to it and begins clawing away at the rocks until he unearths Mirage. The Autobot scout is bruised and battered, but still online, and Jetfire helps pull him out of the rubble. I'm glad to see you are still functional, friend. Mirage. My name is Mirage. What do you call yourself, friend? Jetfire. Mirage is grateful for the assistance, and informs Jetfire that if they can get out of the mine, then Mirage can take him to the rendezvous point with Nest, and provide Jetfire with medical treatment. Jetfire insists that Mirage should leave and save himself, but Mirage stubbornly refuses, and he reaches down to grab Jetfire by his massive shoulders. Do you mean to let me drag you the entire way, or will you lend me a hand and try to walk by yourself? Jetfire is motivated by Mirage's willpower, and forces himself to stand, despite his injuries, and together, they limp down the same exit that the Seekers took earlier. As they walk, Mirage and Jetfire start to form a bond as they talk about their old lives on Cybertron. Jetfire tells Mirage how he was a scientist and a historian, while Mirage had been the owner of a chain of energon mines, which made him one of the richest citizens on the planet. Mirage admits that the war has humbled him quite a bit, since he lost all of his assets and material possessions well before the Exodus. The two newfound friends continue to limp through the caverns as we cut back to Bumblebee and Team Prime. Bumblebee and the others arrive at the Peruvian pyramids, and across the way, they can see the Nest encampment and the Star Harvester. Currently, the Nest base is under attack from both air and ground forces. The Decepticon flyers are being held at bay with AA artillery, while Ironhide and the Wreckers are engaged in a firefight with the ground troops. Wheeljack looks over and notices that the Constructicons are installing the final pieces to the Star Harvester, and that it will soon launch if they don't do something to stop it. They need to hurry up and get the Earth metals over to Optimus fast if they're going to have a chance at winning this fight. The Star Harvester suddenly launches another test firing, except this one is a success. The Doomsday machine is fully operational. We're too late. No, we still have a chance. That was just a test firing. A machine of that size and power is going to need a couple minutes to recharge before they can use it again. That gives us some time. Bumblebee calls in Team Prime for a huddle, and they quickly come up with a plan to disable the Star Harvester. Once they agree on the plan, Team Prime turns to face the Star Harvester. Autobots, let's roll. And that concludes Chapter 3 in my rewrite for Transformers 2. This completes the last half of Act 2, sometimes known as the Bad Guys Close In, which is certainly what happens in this video. The next video will be Part 4, the final chapter in this rewrite series for Transformers 2. We're almost there, guys. What comes next will be the big finale, and Part 4 will serve as the entire third act for this film. If you want to know when Part 4 comes out, go ahead and subscribe to my channel so that you can keep up with this rewrite series as the next installment is released. In the meantime, don't forget to share this video with your friends and to leave a like and a comment. Till all are one.